The Atlanta Braves almost complete the rally, losing game 1 to the Chicago White Sox 13-9. Let's talk about it.
This is the Braves Postcast, your instant game reaction for the Atlanta Braves. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into the Braves Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, where we cover your Atlanta sports teams each and every day. I'm your host, Lindsay Crosby, author of the Braves Today newsletter over at bravestoday.com. You can follow me on social media at Crosby Baseball. That's Jake Mastroianni, host of Locked On Braves. Follow him on social media at shortstopball. Make sure you're subscribed to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Tons of great content already this week from Jake about the Atlanta Braves. And what a game. I'm a little emotionally exhausted, Jake. 13-9. Atlanta gets down in a massive hole in this one, tries to dig out and just can't quite complete it. We're going to talk about Spencer Strider. We're going to talk about the fact you probably see a bullpen move or two tomorrow morning because you put a lot of innings on guys. But we've got to talk about Atlanta gets 15 hits, 9 runs. Jurickson Profar's 3 for 5 with 2 home runs and 5 RBI. Michael Harris goes 4 for 4. Just end of the day, a good night for the offense. You just can't get that final hit there in the 8th inning to take the lead.
Yeah, I mean, this one's clearly on the offense. I don't know how you don't score 14 runs to get the win in this game. I mean, it's so 2025, right? You scored 9 runs against the White Sox and you lose by four runs. Like, it's just another meme for this terrible season. And
can you imagine having this offense in like May?
Oh, I mean, we wouldn't be at this point.
No.
We wouldn't be having this feeling. Wouldn't be laughing about this one as much as we probably are right now either. In what is essentially a lost season at this point. But yeah, I mean, great job by the offense. And look, I mean, when Profar hit even the first home run where he made it 10-5, I thought, I believe this offense can come back. Like, that's how good I feel about this group right now, that even when they made it a 10-5 game, I said, okay, but then they went right back out there and gave up 3 more. And I said, okay, maybe this is a little bit insurmountable. And even after that, they fought back in and then had the tying run at the plate in the 8th inning. And unfortunately, Michael wasn't there for it. But I mean, this offense, it's just done some really, really good things over the last 2 weeks now. And it's given us a lot of hope for next season, as we've talked about.
Yeah. And I do want to address that Michael Harris thing, because there's a couple people in the comments. I saw it on Twitter as well. Everybody's like, why would you take Michael Harris out? Because it was an 8-run game at the time. And Atlanta usually does this with Ronald Acuna Jr., right? No. I mean, it's a blowout. They take him out of the game. Eli White goes in there. This is just something that, like, you had no way to know, especially if you've been watching the Atlanta Braves for 100-something games this year, that an 8-run deficit could be something you could come back from. There's been entire series where the Braves haven't scored 8 runs. So I think it makes, like, I understand why they do it. I was texting you. I was a little bit surprised that it was Harris instead of somebody else. But if you think about it, he's kind of your hottest hitter right now. And so, like, I absolutely understand the decision. I don't know if Harris is the guy I would have taken out, but most MLB managers are making that move at that point, and taking Michael Harris out of the game is not the reason Atlanta lost. I mean, it didn't help, but that's not the reason Atlanta lost the game.
Yeah, it just would have made for an exciting moment, in that 8th inning, to have Michael Harris, who was 4 for 4, come up as the tying run and all that. It would have made for a really incredible moment, and it just unfortunately wasn't. And so I get it too. I was surprised that it was Michael. Like we were kind of texting during the game, I thought it would have been Ronald if you were going to do it. Maybe they think Ronald's missed so much time that he doesn't need the rest right now, and that was probably the thought process there. And my other thought too is, you were going to do it, just go ahead and pinch hit for him. Like, I don't know. Like that's why I texted you initially and wanted to make sure it wasn't an injury related thing, because if you're going to sub him out, just go ahead and pitch hit for him and just start that inning. So again, it stinks as a fan because it would have been, like I said, a great moment to have him come back up. I understand it's a blowout and you want to try to get some guys, off their feet.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought doing it with Michael Harris, I thought was a bit odd. You want to do it with Ozuna, or you want to do it with, obviously you lose the DH, but you want to do it with Acuna. I think that makes sense. Even Matt Olson, a guy that plays every game, you want to give him half a game off break. I mean, that the streak still counts, obviously, because he played in the game, but the Harris one is just a bit of a head scratcher for me.
Yeah. This is what I want to address in the chat, and I don't mean to single this person out, and I apologize, but somebody said Bobby never took Chipper out. And I can speak to that because I specifically was at multiple games where that happened in 2007. 11-0 loss to Boston. Chipper came out after 6. And then later that week, Chipper came out in a 13-0 game against Washington in the 5th. Like,
man, Lindsay's got receipts from back in the day.
And then the very next game was in Miami against the Marlins. It was a 12-3 win. They pulled Chipper in the 8th. So, I just want to point out real quick, and again, I'm not putting the comment on the screen. I don't want to single him out, but I specifically remember being at that game when that happened. I pulled up Baseball Reference to confirm. So most MLB managers do this. It's frustrating, I know, but that's just kind of the fact of life. And again, who legitimately thought Atlanta was going to do that? Who thought that was going to happen? Okay, here's the thing that's a little bit concerning, maybe. Drake Baldwin went 0 for 5 tonight. And I know that there was a lot of conversation, we had it too, about Drake Baldwin not playing over the weekend. And he gets back in the lineup and he goes 0 for 5. I think, I don't know if this is just he hasn't played enough recently and he's a little out of the timing's off, or if this is just he's having a little tiny bit of a slump right now, and it coincides with Isaac Collins getting hot, and that's why Isaac Collins passed him in Rookie of the Year odds. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to know. Had a 104.6 tonight, ground out, but the rest of it was kind of just weak contact. Like his hips were kind of flying open a little bit to me, which he always kind of does that. Yeah. And that's why I wasn't nearly as high on him as a prospect, just because that's always bothered me about his swing a little bit. Mm-hmm. He kind of opens up a little bit too early, in my opinion, but obviously he got great results and he's a major league hitter. But I think it's probably just the fact that it's a long season. I know they talked about this on the broadcast too. I mean, it's a young guy. It's a catcher who's been playing pretty much every day up until this past week for the Braves. And it's probably just maybe getting a little bit tired and seeing that some. So probably just a little bit of a cold stretch here for Drake Baldwin. Nothing to really worry about long-term, but does certainly hurt because you got guys like Isaac Collins that are playing every day. And, Baldwin's at least going to sit out one of every, 3 to 4 days, and you fall behind in that race as a catcher. It's kind of hard to make that ground up. Yeah, absolutely. All right. In just a second, let's talk about the pitching. Let's talk about Spencer Strider. We'll do all of that next right here on the Braves Postcast. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, a daily fantasy platform that lets you turn your football predictions into real rewards. Preseason's already heating up, and college football isn't far behind. Whether you've got your eye on big-name quarterbacks or breakout running backs, Prize Picks makes it easy to get in the game. You might have some strong feelings on the Atlanta Falcons. Is this the year that Kyle Pitts finally figures it out? Is he a bust and they need to move on? Guess what? Prize Picks is simple to play. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. You can make a pick on whether or not you think Kyle Pitts is the guy or not. If you get your picks right, you can cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money. So download the Prize Picks app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play the first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. Prize Picks, run your game. Today's episode is also brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or you're ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. So visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. Okay, so Spencer Strider, we thought the last start was bad. 3 innings, 10 hits, 7 runs, 1 walk to 2 strikeouts, and gives up 2 home runs. He was obviously frustrated, and I think it was because while he did throw some pitches kind of middle, a lot of the home runs were not terrible pitches, and they just still got lit up. I think the first home run was like an up and away fastball at like 97, 98 that they went up and got. And so, I mean, it feels like he did a pretty good job, at least anecdotally, of not leaving too much stuff in the middle of the plate other than a slider or two. Like, I know one of the sliders, Mike Talkman ripped it. But like, other than that, he did a pretty good job of not sitting in the heart of the plate, but it didn't matter. And they just continued to light him up. Is this just he's going to keep doing this, get to the end of the season, give him a full off season to get right?
Yeah, I mean, my comments are probably going to be pretty similar to after the last time he pitched. I think it is just keep him healthy to the offseason and let him just have a full regular offseason to prep. I am not worried. Even after this, I'm still not worried about Spencer Strider long term. But clearly something is off right now. I mean, we can point to the lack of command, and that certainly is an issue. But as you said tonight, I mean, there weren't necessarily terrible pitches, and they were still hitting off of him. And so that's maybe even more concerning. I mean, his last 3 starts, he's given up an 11, 8, and 10 hits. That's more than just mislocation right there. Something else is off. I don't think it's tipping pitches, Lindsay, when you throw 2 pitches. So I don't know that that's the case, but something's clearly off with Spencer Strider. And even in this one, his velocity was up on his yearly average. So you can't really point to that either. Again, I'm certainly not a hitting scout, as I tried to be in the first segment. I'm not a pitching coordinator either.
You're a shortstop guy. We know.
I can talk shortstop defense with you if you want, but something is clearly off with Strider at the moment, and hitters are not they're certainly not afraid of him right now, and he is just getting blasted. They talk about it on the broadcast too. It's also the fact that when he's making a mistake, it's getting killed. But in the case of this game, it was that, plus even good pitches were getting destroyed too. So just a really bad combination. But I'm not worried about Strider. I hear all the comments. I mean, it got heated online. I put out one comment about Strider, and you got many different views coming in, and everybody hot about it. He's making $20 million next year. He's going to be a starter. I know some people want to try to move him to the pen. No. Again, I'm not worried about him, but it does feel like like I said, after his last start, it's just get him healthy to the offseason. Let him have a full healthy offseason to rest, recover like he always does. And I think he'll figure it out, but he's certainly going through it right now.
Yeah. I mean, he led the game in whiffs, and he pitched 3 innings. Like he got 13 whiffs. The 19% whiff percentage was like his 3rd highest of the year. Again, none of the home runs came on center cut pitches. It's just a lot of good hitting by the White Sox, which is not something I thought I would say, but their offense has been better.
Series on the podcast, top five in OPS in the second half. It's been a very good offense.
You did. Like, credit to Jake Mastroianni knows ball. In case you guys were not aware, you should subscribe to Locked On Braves. He knows what he's talking about. And then Atlanta has to go to the pen before they bring in, the shutdown reliever Luke Williams. Austin Cox, shout out Austin Cox, 3 innings. Daisabel Hernandez finally gives up a home run. That's the first home run he's given up since the 2nd game of his major league career. Like that, his streak was over 50 innings. It was the longest active streak in baseball without a homer. But it feels like right now you're in a situation where Cox threw 58 pitches, Daisabel threw 45. You may see 1 or 2 roster moves in the morning to send those guys down and get some fresh arms up for the stretch. You don't have a day off until Thursday. It kind of feels like, we may see a Dane Dunning or something like that, simply because, you've used a lot of bullpen arms in the last couple of days now, and you covered a lot of innings today.
Yeah, probably going to have to make some sort of moves to help you get through it, especially with where the Braves rotation rate is right now. You can't really count on guys to give you even just 5 innings each time out. So you got to have somebody ready. I think they can bring Dylan Dodd back up at this point. I think he's been down long enough. So
Buddy pitched 2 of the last 3 days in Gwinnett. I checked that.
Okay.
So that's why I thought.
Yeah, but they got to bring up somebody.
Yeah.
And I know they just let go of Jackson Stevens too. He was throwing the ball well at Gwinnett. Seems like he could have been a pretty good call for this too, to see Jackson once again. Obviously not on the 40 man, but yeah, we'll see. I wanted to talk about Daysville for a minute though, because he's one of these guys in a lost season in the last month and a half here. He's somebody I'm really kind of keying in on. Is he going to be that guy in the bullpen for next year? And I just don't feel like he's been as good coming back. And he put out some zeros here lately, but even in those zeros, it feels like the stuff hasn't been quite as sharp. Yeah, you look at the month of August too, 5 1/3 innings, 6 walks to just 3 strikeouts. So a little worried about Daysville. And he's one of these guys, like I said, the last 2 months here, really focusing in on to see, where is he going to fit in next year? We talked a lot about the bullpen yesterday and how good it has been and how you can see it, shaping together with a Pierce Johnson, a Dylan Lee, Joe Jimenez coming back, and Daysville certainly figures into that, we think, but I think it's going to be an important finish to the season for him and how he looks.
Yeah. It feels like his control took a step back from where it was, and it already wasn't great. And I don't know if that's just the fatigue of a season or, what else is going on there. I am confident that he'll figure it out eventually, but got to kind of work that out. And then at some point in time, you got to go ahead and give Luke Williams the closer role. He's been he's been fantastic. He averaged, I believe it actually was a season high, 59.4 miles an hour in his EFIS and 74.5. He hit 80 miles an hour today. So shout out Luke Williams. I love that we're having to celebrate that. That's the kind of season Atlanta's had. Tomorrow, it's going to be better. You got Shane Smith going against Bryce Elder at 7:15. So last time out for Elder wasn't bad. You never really know here. But do us a favor. If you're listening on audio, leave a 5-star review, Apple, Spotify. Kind words, that'd be great. Words of affirmation is what they're called. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to both Locked On Braves and Locked On Sports Atlanta. Jake told you what was going to happen in this series with Chicago's offense, so you should have watched that. Going to have more great content coming all week, as well as Locked On Sports Atlanta talking about the Falcons as we get that much closer to the NFL regular season. But again, this is 13-9. Braves can't complete the comeback over the White Sox. We are back tomorrow. For Jake Mastroianni, I'm Lindsay Crosby. This has been the Braves Postcast.